The email notification pinged at 7:23 a.m. Subject: Meridian Tower Project. Leadership Announcement. I was still in bed, coffee in hand, when I opened it. My stomach dropped as I read the first line. We're pleased to announce that Garrett Morrison will be leading the Meridian Tower development as project director. Garrett Morrison, my husband, leading the project I'd been developing for 8 months. The project I'd pitched, researched, and built from concept to approval. I scrolled down, looking for my name. There it was, buried in the 4th paragraph. Reese Morrison will serve as Associate Director, supporting project execution under Garrett's leadership. Supporting. Under his leadership. I'd gone from lead to supporting role on my own project. I heard Garrett in the shower, humming. He didn't know I'd seen the email yet. Or maybe he did know, and he was waiting for me to confront him. I got out of bed, got dressed, and made a decision. If they thought I was going to quietly accept being demoted on my own project while my husband took credit, they had severely underestimated me. If only Garrett had known what he'd just set in motion. I waited until Garrett came downstairs, already dressed in his expensive suit, ready to celebrate his victory. "Morning," he said, kissing my cheek like nothing had happened. "Did you see the email?" I kept my voice neutral. "About Meridian Tower?" "Yeah. Congratulations on the promotion." He looked surprised that I wasn't upset. "Thanks. I know this is awkward, but the board thought that you'd be better suited to lead? That we'd work well together. Your technical skills, my client relationships. It's a partnership. Except you're the director and I'm the associate. It's just titles, Reese. We're still a team." I sipped my coffee, studying my husband. We'd been married 6 years, worked at the same architecture firm for 4. I'd always known Garrett was ambitious. I just hadn't realized how ruthless. "When did you know?" I asked. "About the leadership change?" "Yesterday. The board called me in. I wanted to tell you, but they asked me to wait for the official announcement." "Did you advocate for me? Tell them it was my project?" He shifted uncomfortably. "I told them you'd done great preliminary work. But Reese, I've been in the industry longer. I have relationships with the key stakeholders. It makes sense from a business perspective." "Right. Business perspective." I set down my coffee and grabbed my bag. "I need to get to the office. Are we okay?" "We're fine, Garrett. Like you said, it's just titles." But we weren't fine. And this wasn't just about titles. This was about my husband stealing my career opportunity and expecting me to smile and support him. Garrett and I met in graduate school, both studying architecture. From the beginning, he was the charismatic one, the networker, the guy everyone remembered. I was quieter, more technical, the one who actually produced the best designs. We balanced each other, or so I thought. After graduation, we both got hired at Apex Architecture, a mid-size firm with big ambitions. For the first few years, we worked on separate teams, supporting each other's careers equally. But slowly, things shifted. When I got a major project, Garrett would insert himself into meetings, gradually taking over client relationships. When I developed innovative design solutions, Garrett would present them to leadership, positioning himself as the visionary. I told myself it was just his networking skills, that he was helping both our careers. But deep down, I knew. He was building his reputation on my work. The Meridian Tower project was supposed to be different. I'd identified the development opportunity, pitched it to the board, and secured initial approval. It was mine from inception. Until the board decided that a $200 million project needed senior leadership and gave it to Garrett, who happened to be my husband, who happened to have spent the past month in meetings with board members I didn't even know about. He'd positioned himself while I'd been busy actually developing the project. At the office, my colleague Whitney was waiting at my desk. "Did you see the email?" "I saw it." "Reese, that's insane. This was your project." Apparently the board thinks Garrett's better suited to lead. Because he's a man? Because he's more senior? Or because he's good at taking credit for other people's work? I looked around to make sure no one was listening. All three, probably. Whitney leaned closer. What are you going to do? My job. Support the project. Be a team player. Seriously? You're just going to accept this? I'm going to be strategic. Garrett wants to lead this project? Fine. But he's going to need me. He has the relationships, but I have the technical expertise. He can't execute this without me. So you're going to let him fail? I'm going to let him succeed or fail based on his own capabilities. And we'll see what happens when he realizes he's in over his head. Whitney smiled slowly. You have a plan. I'm developing one. The first project meeting was that afternoon. Garrett stood at the head of the conference table, looking confident and authoritative. I sat 3 seats down, notepad ready, playing the supportive associate director. Thanks everyone for being here, Garrett began. As the new project director, I'm excited to lead Meridian Tower to completion. This is a landmark development for Apex and for the city. He clicked to the first slide, a rendering I'd created months ago. Our vision is a mixed-use tower combining residential, commercial, and public space. He talked for 20 minutes, using my research, my design concepts, my sustainability features, all presented as our vision or the team's approach. Not once did he specifically credit me. After the meeting, Garrett found me at my desk. That went well, I think. You presented my work without attribution. What? No, I said it was the team's work. You're part of the team. Garrett, I created those renderings. I developed that sustainability approach. I spent 8 months on that research. And now we're both working on it. Reese, don't make this about credit. It's about getting the project done. He walked away before I could respond. That night, I pulled all my project files, every document, every design, every calculation. I'd been meticulous in my documentation, keeping detailed records of my contributions. I organized everything into a private folder, backed up in 3 locations. If this project succeeded, I'd have proof of who actually did the work. I also started noting every meeting, every decision, every time Garrett took credit for something I'd developed. Not to gossip, not to complain, just to document. The truth might matter eventually. Over the next 2 weeks, a pattern emerged. Garrett excelled at client presentations and stakeholder meetings. But when it came to technical decisions, detailed planning, or problem solving, he deferred to me. Reese, can you handle the structural engineering coordination? Reese, I need you to revise the commercial space layouts. Reese, the sustainability consultants need technical specs. Can you provide those? Every request was positioned as delegation, but really, he was passing off the hard work while keeping the visible, relationship-building activities for himself. One evening, I was working late when our firm's principal, Vanessa, stopped by my desk. Reese, you're here late. Just finishing some technical drawings for Meridian. She sat down. Can I be honest with you? Of course. The board's decision to put Garrett in the lead wasn't unanimous. Several of us argued that you should have remained project lead. But you were overruled. By senior partners who've worked with Garrett longer and see him as the face they want representing Apex on this project. She looked uncomfortable. It wasn't fair, and I want you to know that I'm watching how this develops. Thank you for telling me. Garrett's good at relationships, but you're the technical genius behind this project. Don't let him take all the credit. Document everything, stay visible, and when opportunities arise to showcase your expertise, take them. After she left, I felt validated. I wasn't imagining the injustice. Even leadership recognized it, even if they weren't willing to challenge the decision. But Vanessa's advice was clear. Stay visible, document everything, and be ready when opportunities arose. The first major opportunity came 3 weeks into the project. The structural engineering firm we'd hired raised concerns about the tower's foundation design. The soil conditions were more complex than initial surveys showed. Garrett called an emergency meeting. We need solutions fast. The timeline is already tight. The engineering lead presented 3 options, all with significant cost and schedule implications. Garrett looked stressed, clearly out of his depth on technical issues. Which option do we recommend to the client? Everyone looked at each other. This required deep understanding of structural systems, cost implications, and design integrity. This was my area of expertise. Can I see the soil report? I asked. They passed it over. I spent 10 minutes reviewing the data, cross-referencing with our design specifications. The third option isn't viable. It compromises the tower's lateral stability in high winds. The first option is over-engineered and unnecessarily expensive. What about the second option? Garrett asked. It's workable with modifications. If we adjust the foundation depth here, I pointed to the drawings, and add supplemental piers at these locations, we maintain structural integrity while keeping costs reasonable. The engineering lead studied my suggestions. That could work. It's actually more elegant than what we proposed. I'll need to run full calculations to confirm, but this approach should meet all requirements within budget. The room relaxed. Crisis averted. But I noticed Vanessa watching the exchange with interest. After the meeting, Garrett pulled me aside. Thanks for handling that. Structural stuff isn't my strong suit. I know. That's why this project needed me in the lead role. He looked annoyed. Don't start that again. We got through it. That's what matters. We got through it because I solved the problem. Make sure that's clear in your client update. Of course. But when Garrett sent the client update that evening, it read, "We encountered a foundation design challenge, which the team successfully resolved. We're proceeding on schedule and within budget." The team. No mention of who actually developed the solution. I forwarded the email to my personal account and added it to my documentation folder. The pattern continued. Every technical challenge, every design problem, every calculation I handled. Garrett managed client relationships and board presentations, always using "we" and "the team" to describe accomplishments I'd achieved. 3 months into the project, we hit a major milestone: city planning approval. It had been a complex process requiring detailed environmental impact assessments, traffic studies, and community engagement. I'd managed all of it, coordinating with consultants, revising plans, and responding to city requirements. Garrett presented the approval to the board, taking a victory lap. This milestone represents months of hard work and strategic stakeholder management. I'm proud of what we've accomplished. From my seat at the back of the room, I watched him bask in applause. Not a single mention of my name or specific contributions. After the meeting, Vanessa approached me in the hallway. "That was impressive work on the city approval. I reviewed the submission materials. Extremely thorough." "Thank you." I noticed Garrett didn't mention your specific role. He said, "We and the team. I'm part of the team." She looked at me carefully. "Reese, why are you letting this happen?" "I'm not letting anything happen. I'm documenting everything and doing excellent work. The truth will matter eventually." "You have more patience than I would." "Or I'm playing a longer game." She smiled. "Good. Just make sure you're ready when the moment comes." That evening at home, Garrett was celebrating. "The board was really impressed today. This project is going to make both our careers." "Your career, you mean? You're the director." He set down his wine glass. "Why are you being like this?" "Like what? Accurate?" "Resentful. I've tried to include you, give you credit. You say 'we' and 'the team' while taking individual credit for leadership. That's not the same as acknowledging specific contributions." "What do you want, Reese? A medal every time you do your job?" "I want the recognition I earned. This was my project, Garrett. I developed it from nothing. You swooped in at the end and took the director role." "Because I'm better suited for it. The board, the clients, the stakeholders, they all prefer working with me." "Because you're charismatic and good at relationships, but I'm the one doing the actual work." He stood up, agitated. "That's not fair. I do plenty of work. Client management is work. Stakeholder coordination is work." "I'm not saying you don't work. I'm saying you're taking credit for my technical expertise while contributing primarily schmoozing and presentations. So now I'm just a schmoozer? That's what you think of me? I looked at my husband, seeing him clearly maybe for the first time. Ambitious, charismatic, and utterly comfortable, taking credit for work he hadn't done. I think you're someone who's built a career on other people's talents and doesn't even realize it. He stared at me. Wow, that's what you really think? Yes. Then maybe we have bigger problems than the project. He walked out. I sat alone in our living room, heart pounding. I'd finally said it. Voiced the resentment I'd been carrying for years. And surprisingly, I didn't feel bad. I felt lighter. Garrett and I barely spoke for the next week. At work, we were professionally cordial. At home, we existed in separate spaces. But the project continued, and I was about to make a move that would change everything. The Meridian Tower required City Council final approval for a zoning variance. It was a critical step, and one of the council members, Naomi, had expressed concerns about the project's community impact. Garrett had tried to schedule a meeting with her multiple times, but she declined, saying she needed more detailed information before meeting. I did my research. Naomi had a background in urban planning and environmental science. She cared about technical details and community benefit, not smooth presentations. She was my kind of stakeholder. I emailed her directly. Council Member Naomi, I'm the Associate Director on Meridian Tower and the lead technical architect. I understand you have concerns about community impact. I'd welcome the opportunity to walk through our detailed plans with you. Would you be available for a working session? She responded within an hour. Yes. Tomorrow at 2:00 p.m. at my office. Bring your technical documents. I didn't tell Garrett. The next afternoon, I met with Naomi for 2 hours. We went through environmental assessments, community benefit provisions, sustainability features, and design specifications in detail. She asked tough technical questions. I answered every one. This is exactly what I needed, she said finally. Your project actually has substance beyond the glossy renderings. Thank you. Community impact is central to the design, not an afterthought. Will you be presenting to the full council? That hasn't been decided yet. She looked at me knowingly. It should be you. The council needs to hear from someone who understands the technical details, not just the sales pitch. I'll see what I can arrange. When I returned to the office, Garrett was waiting. Where were you? We had a project check-in scheduled. I had a meeting with council member Naomi. His eyes widened. What? When did you schedule that? Yesterday. She needed technical information, so I provided it. You went around me to meet with a key stakeholder? I responded to her request for detailed information. You'd been trying to meet with her for weeks. I got the meeting. By undermining my authority. By providing what she actually needed. Garrett, she's an urban planner. She doesn't care about your charm. She cares about environmental impact and community benefit. That's my expertise. He was furious, but couldn't quite articulate why. This project has a hierarchy. Stakeholder communication should go through me. Even when your approach isn't working? It's about respect, Reese. Respect for the leadership structure. Like the respect you showed me when you took over my project? That shut him down. He walked away without another word. The next day, Naomi's office called. The city council wanted a detailed technical presentation before voting on the zoning variance. They requested that I deliver it. When the invitation came through officially, Garrett tried to claim the presentation slot. I'll handle the council presentation. It's a high-visibility opportunity. Vanessa, who was copied on the request, replied all. The council specifically requested Reese. Given her technical expertise and existing relationship with council member Naomi, she should present. Garrett had no choice but to agree. I spent a week preparing the most comprehensive presentation of my career. Not just pretty renderings, but detailed environmental data, community benefit analysis, economic impact projections, and sustainability certifications. This was my moment to show what I could do without Garrett filtering my contributions. The city council chambers were intimidating. 12 council members sat in a semicircle, Naomi among them. Garrett sat in the audience, along with Vanessa and other Apex partners. I stood at the podium, presentation remote in hand, and began. Thank you for the opportunity to present Meridian Tower's detailed technical plans. I'm Reese Morrison, lead technical architect and project designer. For 45 minutes, I walked through every aspect of the project. I explained how our foundation design minimized environmental disruption, how our sustainability features exceeded code requirements by 30%, how our community benefit provisions included affordable housing units, public green space, and local hiring commitments. The council asked tough questions. I answered every single one with specific data and concrete examples. No smooth talking, no evasion, just technical competence and honest communication. When I finished, the council chair said, "This is the most thorough presentation we've received on a major development in years. Thank you, Ms. Morrison." They voted. The zoning variance passed unanimously. As I packed up my materials, several council members approached to thank me personally. Naomi shook my hand. That was exceptional. If all developers were this transparent and detailed, our job would be much easier. Garrett appeared at my side. Great work, Reese. Really great. His smile was strained. Outside the chambers, Vanessa pulled me aside. That was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You just made this firm look incredibly professional. Thank you. I was just presenting the work I've been doing all along. I know, and now everyone else knows too. The council presentation changed things. Within the firm, people started coming directly to me with technical questions about Meridian Tower. Client emails began including me first, sometimes without copying Garrett. The board took notice. At the next project review, the senior partners asked me detailed questions about design decisions and timeline management. Garrett tried to answer, but they redirected. Actually, we'd like to hear from Reese on this. After the meeting, Garrett was fuming. You're making me look incompetent. I'm not making you look like anything. I'm demonstrating my expertise. By showing off in front of the board. By answering questions accurately. Garrett, if you feel incompetent, maybe it's because this project requires technical skills you don't have. I have plenty of skills. In client relations and presentations, yes. In structural design, environmental systems, and technical problem solving? Not so much. He stepped closer, voice low and angry. You're trying to push me out of my own project. It was never your project. It was always mine. You just convinced the board to give you the title. This is about revenge, isn't it? You're punishing me for getting promoted. I'm not punishing you. I'm just stopping covering for your weaknesses. If you can't lead this project without me handling all the technical work, maybe you shouldn't be the director. I walked away, leaving him standing in the hallway. That evening, I didn't go home. I went to my sister Bria's apartment. I think my marriage might be over, I told her. She handed me wine. Tell me everything. I spent 3 hours explaining the whole situation to Bria. The years of Garrett taking credit for my work, the Meridian Tower takeover, the recent shifts in visibility and recognition. So what do you want? Bria asked. In your career and in your marriage? I want recognition for my work. I want to lead projects based on my actual capabilities, not be relegated to support roles because my husband is better at politics. And the marriage? I was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. I love Garrett, or I did, but I don't respect him anymore, and I'm not sure you can have a marriage without respect. That's fair. He sees me as competition now. Every time I succeed, he feels diminished. That's not sustainable. So what's your plan? Finish Meridian Tower successfully. Make sure everyone knows my contributions. Then decide about the marriage based on whether Garrett can handle having a wife who's as successful as he is. Bria raised her glass. To women who refuse to be diminished. I clinked my glass against hers. To women who fight back. I went home around midnight. Garrett was still up, working in his office. "We need to talk," he said. "Okay." We sat in the living room, the space between us feeling wider than the physical distance. "I've been thinking about what you said," Garrett began, "about me taking credit for your work." "And?" "You're right, I have. Not intentionally, but I've built my reputation partly on your technical skills without adequately acknowledging them." I was surprised by the admission. "Thank you for saying that." "But Reese, you're making this impossible now. Going around me, taking over stakeholder relationships, performing for the board. You're undermining my authority." "I'm doing my job exceptionally well. If that undermines you, maybe the problem isn't me." Garrett leaned forward. "What do you want? Just tell me what you want." "I want the recognition I've earned. If you'd credited my work from the beginning, we wouldn't be here. I'll do better. I'll make sure everyone knows your contributions going forward." "It's too late for that, Garrett. The pattern is established. Even if you start crediting me now, people will see it as you being forced to, not genuine acknowledgement." "So what then? You want me to step down as project director?" "I considered this. Would you, if I asked? Is that what you want? I want to see if you're capable of putting my career ahead of your ego." He stood up, agitated. "That's not fair. I can't just step down. The board appointed me. It would make me look weak and incompetent." "But you are incompetent at the technical aspects. You need me to execute this project." "I need the team. You're part of the team. Stop hiding behind the team. You need me specifically. My design expertise, my technical skills, my problem solving. Without me, this project fails." He couldn't deny it. "So what do you want me to do?" "I want you to recommend to the board that the leadership structure be revised, that we become co-directors, equal partners in name as we are in function." "They'll never go for that." "Then I guess we'll find out what happens when I stop making you look good." His face paled. "You wouldn't sabotage the project." "I wouldn't sabotage it, but I wouldn't go above and beyond to save it either. I'd do exactly my job description as associate director, nothing more. No solving problems outside my scope. No working late to meet deadlines. No covering for your technical gaps." "Reese, your choice, Garrett. Recommend the co-director structure, or find out what this project looks like when you're actually leading it alone." I left him sitting there and went to bed. The next morning, Garrett didn't speak to me. We drove to work separately, existed in separate spaces. But I noticed him in meetings with Vanessa and other senior partners throughout the day. That evening, Vanessa called me into her office. Garrett came to me with an interesting proposal. He wants to restructure Meridian Tower's leadership as co-directors. You and him, equal authority. What do you think about that? I think it should have been that way from the beginning. The board made a mistake appointing him as sole director. But Garrett's ego wouldn't let him admit he needed equal partnership. And now? Now he's apparently seen the light, or you forced him to see it. She smiled. I'm recommending the board approve the change. Expect it to be official by next week. Thank you, Vanessa. Don't thank me. You earned this through exceptional work. I'm just making sure you get proper recognition. The board approved the restructuring. The announcement went out. Effective immediately, Meridian Tower will be led by co-directors Garrett Morrison and Reese Morrison, reflecting the collaborative partnership necessary for this complex project. It wasn't everything I wanted. I should have been sole director from the start. But it was significant progress. More importantly, it was public acknowledgement of my essential role. Garrett's reaction was subdued. Congratulations on the promotion. Congratulations to both of us. Yeah. He walked away without further conversation. Our marriage was hanging by a thread, held together only by professional obligation and years of history. But I'd achieved what I set out to do, forced recognition of my contributions, and established equal footing on my own project. As co-directors, the dynamic shifted. Every major decision required both our sign-offs. Every client presentation featured both of us. Every board update credited both our contributions. At first, Garrett resisted the equal partnership. He'd try to make unilateral decisions, then get frustrated when I insisted on being consulted. But gradually, he adapted. Or maybe he realized he had no choice. The project progressed smoothly. We broke ground in early spring, and construction proceeded on schedule. I managed technical execution, Garrett handled client relations, and somehow we made it work professionally. Personally, we were barely a couple anymore. We lived in the same house, but existed separately. Polite roommates rather than spouses. One evening, 6 months into co-directing, Garrett came home and said, "We can't keep doing this." Doing what? Pretending everything is fine. We barely talk. We don't touch. We're married in name only. I set down my book. I know. Do you want a divorce? The question hung in the air. Did I? I don't know, I said honestly. I don't hate you, Garrett, but I don't know if I can trust you. You took my project, took credit for my work, and only changed when forced to. I'm sorry, I truly am. But Reese, you're not perfect in this either. You've been cold and distant for months. You've shut me out. Because you hurt me, professionally and personally. So where does that leave us? I think we need space to figure out who we are separately. We've been together since graduate school. Maybe we need to remember our individual identities before we can be partners again. We separated that spring. No drama, no lawyers yet. Just Garrett moving to an apartment downtown while I kept the house. At work, we remained professional co-directors. People knew we were separated, but we didn't discuss it publicly. The project remained the priority. Strangely, our working relationship improved after separating. Without the marriage complications, we could interact purely professionally. We found a rhythm that worked, respect for each other's expertise, without the burden of romantic expectations. Meridian Tower's structural steel went up through summer. By fall, we were ahead of schedule and under budget. The client was thrilled. The board was impressed, and individually, both Garrett and I were being recognized for our specific contributions. Industry publications interviewed me about innovative sustainability features. Architecture blogs featured my design work. I was invited to speak at conferences about integrated urban development. My career was flourishing in ways it never had when I was in Garrett's shadow. Garrett's career continued thriving too. He brought in 2 new major clients and was being considered for partnership track. He was good at what he did, relationship building and business development, when he stayed in his lane. One afternoon, we met for coffee to discuss final interior finishes. After business conversation concluded, Garrett said, "You seem happy." I am. Work is fulfilling. I feel like myself again. I'm glad. And I'm sorry it took losing our marriage for me to see what I was doing to you. Do you understand now? Why I was so angry? I think so. I didn't just take credit for your work. I took your professional identity and made it an extension of mine. That was wrong. Thank you for acknowledging that. For what it's worth, watching you thrive these past few months, seeing you confident and recognized, it's made me realize how much I was holding you back. I appreciated his honesty. You weren't entirely bad, Garrett. You helped my career in some ways, but you also limited it when my success made you uncomfortable. I know. My ego couldn't handle having a wife who might be more talented than me. That's something you need to work on for your next relationship. He looked at me. So you're sure we're done? I think we are. We became toxic to each other. You felt threatened by my competence. I felt erased by your ambition. That's not fixable. I really am sorry for all of it. I know, and I forgive you. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. We finished our coffee and parted as friendly colleagues who used to be married. By winter, Meridian Tower was substantially complete. The building was stunning. 23 stories of mixed-use space, LEED Platinum certified, with community features integrated throughout. The grand opening was scheduled for early January. Both Garrett and I would speak, presenting the project as successful co-directors. The night before the opening, I walked through the finished building alone. Every detail, every design choice, every innovative feature, I knew the story behind it. This building existed because of my vision and my technical expertise, and now, finally, everyone knew it. The next day's opening ceremony was attended by city officials, board members, clients, and press. Garrett spoke first, giving a polished presentation about the project's development and client collaboration. "This building represents what's possible when vision meets execution," he said. "I'm proud to have co-directed this landmark project with my colleague Reese Morrison, whose technical expertise and design innovation made this building possible. Colleague, not wife, but full credit for my contributions. Progress." When it was my turn to speak, I walked to the podium and looked out at the audience. Meridian Tower began as an idea 8 years ago when I first identified this site's development potential. The journey from concept to completion has been challenging, educational, and ultimately successful because of talented people working together. I talked about the technical innovations, the sustainability features, the community benefits. I credited specific team members by name for their contributions, and I took ownership of my role as the project's original architect and co-director. This building represents my vision for urban development that serves both economic and community needs. I'm proud of what we've accomplished, and I'm grateful to everyone who helped realize this vision. The applause was warm. After the ceremony, multiple people approached me. Potential clients, industry professionals, even a headhunter. "We're looking for a director of urban design for our firm," the headhunter said. "Your work on Meridian Tower is exactly the kind of innovative approach we want to develop. Would you be interested in discussing the opportunity?" "I'm always open to conversations." Vanessa found me near the end of the event. "The board wants to meet with you next week. They're creating a new position, principal architect with focus on urban development projects. They want to offer it to you." "Principal? That's what you've earned. Your work on Meridian Tower has been exceptional, and more importantly, you've demonstrated leadership capability that's rare in this industry." "What about Garrett?" "Garrett's being offered partnership track in business development, which is where his strengths lie. You'll be equals in the firm hierarchy, but leading different divisions." It was everything I'd worked for. Professional recognition, leadership authority, and clear differentiation of my contributions from Garrett's. The divorce was finalized in spring. We divided assets fairly, both kept our careers at Apex, and committed to remaining professional colleagues. No drama, no ugliness, just two people acknowledging they'd grown in incompatible directions. On the day the divorce was final, Bria took me out to celebrate. "How do you feel?" Sad, relieved, excited, all at once. The marriage failed, but I didn't. My career is thriving. I'm finally getting recognition for my actual work. That's worth celebrating. "To women who refuse to disappear," Bria toasted. "To women who fight for what they deserve," I replied. My new role as principal architect started that summer. I had my own team, my own projects, and complete authority over urban development initiatives. Garrett and I occasionally collaborated when projects required both business development and technical expertise, but we operated in separate spheres. One afternoon, about a year after our divorce, we ran into each other in the firm's lobby. "Reese, hey, how are you?" "Good, really good. Just came from a client pitch for a mixed-use development in the Arts District." "That sounds right in your wheelhouse. How'd it go?" "They want to move forward. It'll be a 3-year project, probably the most complex I've led." "Congratulations. That's excellent." "Thanks. How's business development?" "Thriving. I brought in 2 new corporate clients this quarter. Playing to my strengths feels good." "That's great, Garrett. Really?" We stood there. 2 people who'd once been married, now colleagues who'd found their separate paths. "I'm glad we're okay. he said, that we can be professional and even friendly. Me too. It wasn't easy getting here. No, but I think we're both better for it. I learned some hard lessons about ego and credit and recognizing other people's contributions. And I learned to fight for myself and not accept being diminished. You're really thriving, he observed. You seem confident in a way you never were when we were together. Because I'm not trying to make space for your ego anymore. I can just be fully myself. He nodded. I deserved that. That fall, I was invited to keynote a Women in Architecture conference. The topic, Fighting for Professional Recognition in Male-Dominated Fields. I almost declined. Public speaking about my personal experiences felt vulnerable. But then I thought about all the other women who'd been erased by ambitious male colleagues or partners, who'd had their work stolen, their contributions minimized, their careers limited. They needed to hear that fighting back was possible. The conference was in Chicago, packed with several hundred female architects, engineers, and designers. I stood on stage, looking out at faces that reflected my own struggles, and began. 5 years ago, I developed a $200 million project from concept to approval. 8 months of research, design innovation, and stakeholder management. Then my husband, who worked at the same firm, was named project director, while I was demoted to associate director on my own project. The audience murmured with recognition. They knew this story because they'd lived versions of it. I had a choice. Accept the diminishment or fight back strategically. I chose to fight, not through confrontation alone, but through undeniable competence. I documented everything. I solved every technical problem. I took every opportunity to demonstrate expertise. And slowly, people noticed that the project's success depended on my skills, not my husband's charisma. I walked them through the journey, the city council presentation, the co-director restructuring, the eventual divorce, and the principalship I now held. Here's what I learned. You can't control whether people try to steal your credit or diminish your contributions. But you can control your response. Document your work. Build relationships based on your actual expertise. And when opportunities arise to demonstrate your value, take them without apology. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. Afterward, dozens of women approached with their own stories. A structural engineer whose male supervisor took credit for her calculations. A landscape architect whose partner presented her designs as his own. An urban planner whose boss systematically excluded her from client meetings. What did you do? They all asked. How did you fight back? By refusing to be invisible, I told each one. By being so undeniably competent that erasing me became impossible. Flying home from Chicago, I reflected on how far I'd come. From the morning I'd read that email announcing Garrett's promotion, to this moment where I was advising other women on fighting for professional recognition. The journey had cost me my marriage. That still hurts sometimes. But it had given me something more valuable, myself. Back at the office the following week, I dove into the Arts District project. It was even more complex than Meridian Tower, requiring coordination with historic preservation boards, arts organizations, and community groups. I loved every challenging minute of it. One afternoon, Vanessa stopped by my office. The board wants to discuss something with you. What about? Opening a satellite office focused entirely on urban development and sustainable design. They want you to lead it. You'd be founding principal with full autonomy to build the practice you envision. My heart raced. That's incredible. You've earned it. Your work has put Apex on the map for innovative urban development. The board wants to capitalize on that momentum. What's the timeline? They're thinking to launch in 18 months, which gives you time to finish the Arts District project and develop your vision for the new office. After Vanessa left, I sat alone in my office, looking out at the city skyline. Somewhere out there was Meridian Tower, the building that had almost broken me, but instead had forced me to discover my strength. I pulled out my phone and texted Bria. They're creating a new office and want me to lead it as founding principal. Her response was immediate. Founding principal? That's huge! When do we celebrate? Soon. Let me process first. Process away, but I'm so proud of you. You fought for yourself and won. She was right. I had fought, and I'd won not just professional recognition, but something deeper. Self-respect, and the knowledge that I wouldn't accept being diminished again. The Arts District project took 2 years to complete. When it opened, it won 3 major industry awards and was featured in architectural publications internationally. I was interviewed by design magazines, invited to speak at universities, and approached by multiple firms trying to recruit me. But I stayed with Apex because the satellite office was becoming reality. I spent 6 months developing the vision, a practice focused exclusively on sustainable urban development with deep community engagement. Not just building structures, but creating spaces that served both economic and social needs. I hired a team of 12 talented architects and designers, many of them women who'd faced similar challenges to mine in their careers. We built a culture based on collaborative credit, transparent acknowledgement of contributions, and mentorship. The satellite office launched on a beautiful spring morning. I stood in our new space, surrounded by my team, and felt overwhelming pride. This was mine, built on my vision, my expertise, my determination to never be diminished again. Garrett sent flowers with a note. Congratulations on the new office. You've built something remarkable. I'm genuinely proud of you. Gee. It was gracious. And I believed he meant it. We'd both grown since our marriage ended. He'd learned to stay in his lane and properly credit collaborators. I'd learned to fight for recognition and never settle for less than I deserved. That evening, I hosted an opening reception. Clients, colleagues, industry professionals all came to celebrate. Vanessa gave a toast. Reese Morrison represents the future of architecture, innovative, sustainable, and deeply committed to community impact. This office will set new standards for urban development. The night felt like vindication for every time I'd been dismissed, overlooked, or had my contributions minimized. Every late night fixing Garrett's technical mistakes. Every meeting where I'd been spoken over. Every project where my work had been credited to the team. This office, with my name on the door as founding principal, was proof that competence eventually wins. That documentation matters. That fighting for yourself is worth the discomfort. 5 years after that email announcing Garrett as Meridian Tower's director, I sat in my corner office in the firm I'd built, reviewing proposals for our latest project, a mixed-use development combining affordable housing, small business incubators, and public green space. My phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. Reese Morrison. Ms. Morrison, this is Chancellor Williams from the School of Architecture at State University. I'm calling to see if you'd consider joining our faculty as a visiting professor. We'd love for you to teach a seminar on sustainable urban development and professional practice. Teaching, shaping the next generation of architects, sharing the lessons I'd learned about fighting for recognition and refusing to be diminished. I'm very interested. When would this start? Next fall semester. It would be 1 seminar per week, focused on both technical skills and professional navigation, especially for women and underrepresented students who face additional challenges in getting their work recognized? Exactly. Your career trajectory and your willingness to speak openly about professional challenges make you an ideal mentor. After we finalized details, I sat back in my chair and looked around my office. Awards on the shelves, projects displayed on the walls, a team of talented people I was helping to develop. This was what winning looked like. Not just professional success, but the ability to help others avoid the struggles I'd faced. To teach young architects that they deserved recognition for their work and how to fight for it strategically. That evening, I called Bria. I'm going to teach at the university. That's perfect. You'll be amazing at it. I keep thinking about that email 5 years ago, when Garrett got promoted to director on my project. I was so angry and hurt. You had every right to be. But if it hadn't happened, I might have stayed comfortable. I might never have fought for myself or built this practice. That moment forced me to choose, accept being diminished or demand recognition. And you chose to fight. I did. And it cost me my marriage, but gave me my career and my self-respect. I'm not sure I'd change anything now. That's growth, Reese. Being able to see how the painful moments shaped you. Looking out at the city lights, I thought about everything Garrett had tried to take from me and everything I'd built in response. The satellite office, the innovative projects, the recognition as a leader in sustainable urban development. The opportunity to mentor the next generation. If only Garrett had known what he'd start when he took over my project. If only he'd realized that trying to diminish me would force me to prove my worth in ways that would far exceed anything I might have achieved in his shadow. But maybe that's how it had to happen. Maybe I needed someone to try to erase me so I could learn to make myself undeniable. That was the real lesson. Not that people won't try to take credit for your work or minimize your contributions. They will. Especially if you're a woman in a male-dominated field. Especially if you're married to your competitor. The lesson was that you don't have to accept it. You can document your work, demonstrate your expertise, and refuse to disappear. You can fight strategically rather than emotionally. And you can build something so undeniably yours that no one can claim they gave it to you. I'd learned that lesson the hard way. Now I'd spend the rest of my career teaching it to others, making sure the next generation of talented women knew they deserved recognition and exactly how to demand it. That was my victory. Not just professional success, but the strength to ensure others wouldn't face the same battles I had. Or if they did, they'd know how to win.